Welcome to Guardians of the Data. I'm your host, Ward Balcerzak. Each episode will explore the passions, expertise, and real world experiences of security leaders who are helping the future of data security and governance. Guardians of the Data is made possible by support from Centra. To learn more about our AI powered data security platform, please visit centra.io. Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of Guardians of the Data. My guest today has over 20 years of IT and security experience across multiple industries. She's a cybersecurity executive leader and advisor for enterprise and emerging Web3 and decentralized technologies. Marlene DeHart, welcome to the show.
Hey, well, thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Very happy to have you here. Are you ready to get into it?
I sure am. And I have to say, I love the theme. I even wore my Guardian shirt, and we'll probably get into that a little bit. Yes.
I love it. I love it. Well, in your professional opinion, what's the biggest data security challenge organizations are facing today?
So today I wanted to focus on the guardians, the people who protect the data, protect the grid. So I thought that I would focus on just the people. I gave a talk not too long ago called Future Proofing Cybersecurity from the SOC floor to the C suite. And basically, it's just a reflection of my own journey. And I've had a great career in all the different experiences and things that I've learned along the way. And it always gets back to the people doing the work, doing the guard work.
I love it. Let's hear more. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Well, I guess I'll just give a little overview of my own career. So, I actually got into IT, information security, working for my brother. So my brother, he had his own business. Some of your guests have probably heard about the Geek Squad. Is that still a thing?
Oh, it definitely is.
So he started a company called Mobile Techs. And so I worked for him and didn't even really have an interest. I have to say, I wasn't really someone who thought of myself as working in IT. But basically, I worked with him and he serviced small businesses and in-home customers. And so he taught me how to build computers, how to crimp network wires, how to install software, clean up viruses. And so we did, kind of a full service. And so that's actually how I got into IT. And prior to that, I served in the military. So I was in the Army and had one term. And so after that one term, that's when I started working for my brother. And I landed my first real job working for HP and started with the IT help desk, as you can imagine, because of the work that I'd been doing for my brother. And from there, I got into security in the early days. So that's a little bit of my story from the early days. Um, so I guess after that, I mentioned that I was in the service, and so 9/11 happened. And at that time, I had moved into internal audit. So I was working in IT, eventually moved into information security. I was, one of my first job roles in information security was the IDS program manager.
Oh, that's a blast from the past right there. IDS. Woo!
Exactly. And I'll never forget, like one time I was explaining to somebody what I did, and I said, "Well, I'm the IDS program manager." And I explained what that acronym meant, intrusion detection systems. And they looked at me like, "Well, why would companies need that? Or why do we need that?" But fast forward as people have put their own information, in social media and on the internet, now that story is a lot easier to tell. But yeah, so I worked in IT security and I was a guest auditor. So at that time, internal audit had a great program. So I got to be a guest auditor. I was one of the first auditors to actually audit Oracle database running on an HP Superdome. I was working for HP at the time and had all of these lovely findings. So I was able to change my role at HP from information security to internal audit.
Very cool. So you were, some would argue, you were kind of the enemy, right? Being an audit, like, a lot of folks in security look at them as the enemy, although it's really a partnership.
It's really a partnership. And I'm so glad you said that because, it's in early in my career, I'm running network scans. I'm doing CGI web scanning with whiskers. I'm going to date myself for sure in map. Um, so you're really into like the findings and, oh, look at all these things that are bad with technology. So when I moved into internal audit, for the first time, I got to see risk, real risk from the board view. And it really changed the course of my career because technology is just one aspect of risk that companies juggle, right? And so during that time frame, I was working and traveling internationally doing internal audits. Really great experience to see broader risk beyond just IT risk. And 9/11 happened. So because of I had one term service with active duty Army, I really wanted to still serve my country. And so I said, gosh, how can I love what I'm doing in corporate America and building my career, but I really want to, I still would love to somehow serve my country. So I went and saw an Air Force recruiter, Air Force Reserve recruiter, and I explained what I was, my motivations. And he said, I have just the job for you. You can work in your own backyard and you can do space intelligence. So that started my career in the Air Force Reserves. And so I actually retired from the Air Force Reserves. I have, 22 years of service. But at the same time, as I built my professional career and my military career, the same themes of just protecting systems, protecting data, really ring true.
Yeah, and I think for any listeners, that are kinda like myself, kinda nerdy, I think you just hit on something huge, right? You can serve your country, work from home, and do stuff with space. That is super cool, like, I never knew that that was a path back when I started out.
Well, as a matter of fact, and I think that's one of the fun things. So I've had a chance to, speak at many conferences with the various roles and systems that I've worked on. And so I always like to say that my career spans from mainframes to microservices and now into Web3 and blockchain. So really love that. But also just being able to work in all these different environments, you can imagine all the experience and the skills and the people that you get to work with. And so I do want to start segueing into something that is really near and dear to my heart, getting back to, what I think is a big challenge for us to solve.
Let's do it.
So, of course, we have skills shortage, right? We have all this demand for cybersecurity professionals. And you and I talked about this when we were, uh, first talking about coming on this show. Is we've been in the industry for quite a long time, and we mentor a lot of people. And it's just people that we mentor. They're looking for their first opportunity to land their first job, right? And so when I talk to these individuals, um, I'm looking at the jobs that they're applying for, and in my opinion, it's kind of unrealistic for someone, the job description will say you have to have 2 years of SOC experience. Well, where are you going to get SOC experience if you've never had your first job, right?
I'm gonna call it the industry right here right quick too. I always like to post that, oh, you need to have, something silly. I like yours, 2 years of stock experience. But oh, by the way, you gotta have your CISSP as well, right? And they call it entry level. It's like, hold on, like you can be associate CISSP, like that's a thing, that's a path. I know people have done it. But to be a full-fledged CISSP, you need to have 5 years, and you gotta have somebody that's gonna vouch for all that. So just It blows my mind when I still continue to see those posts, and LinkedIn's a great community, right? People are calling those folks out all the time, but it doesn't change, right? It's still out there. It's crazy.
It's crazy. And so what I've been thinking of is actually what these job seekers need is they need to be able to showcase their real skills that they have. And so anyway, I came up with an idea, and I have a little bit of um, a reason how I got to this idea. But I mentioned that, I'm working in the Air Force Reserves, also working for various companies doing cybersecurity. So I was at this company and they had an internal hackathon challenge.
Nice.
And so I thought, sounds good. There was an executive theme, a problem to solve. And so I formed a team kind of last minute, and we actually won in our category. And so what it was doing something with the blockchain. So that was my first, experience of actually building out a blockchain service and putting a product behind it. So that got me down this sort of track of looking at new technologies because so part of my background was also running PKI services, code signing services, a lot of cryptography, certificate management for worldwide servers. And so there's a lot going on with secrets management and so forth. And so, of course, I was attracted to this immutable, blockchain, decentralized systems with foolproof audit trail. So I started, exploring decentralized technologies. And I thought, just like, and I have a CISSP, so certifications are definitely helpful. But I thought, well, if I'm going to learn this technology, I need to start working with it as well as pursuing certification. So I started looking at the more training route, and there really wasn't anything. I did attend one conference, it was very helpful, but there really wasn't a lot. But what I found out is that there were all of these different um, challenges, like, hackathons. So I thought, oh, why don't I start experimenting more with those? And so I did. I started looking for opportunities to build decentralized applications and formed a team. And we did 5 different challenges and we placed in all of them.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so and this was with strangers, like people I had never met before. You jump on a Discord and you take on a challenge and start building something, and it's real short windows. So of course it's all MVP. But what that experience brought was the fact that working with others and just getting hands-on, playing with the technology, you learn a lot. And it's a very fast track way. So uh, the overlay too is I started thinking about how we train people in the military. So when someone comes into military service and they get their career field, so in the Air Force, it's your AFSC. So for example, with cyber, everyone's probably heard if they've thought about the military or in the military, is it typically you take an aptitude test. So the aptitude is going to basically give you some ideas of what careers are possible for you based on your aptitude. And then also, having the right motivation. So the way I like to describe that is having the right attitude, having the right aptitude. What is a person usually missing? It's that opportunity. They need the opportunity. So in the Air Force, I'll speak of the Air Force Reserves, we give those individuals the opportunity to come into a mission set and they get to work the floor. And typically the way it works is just like the trade skills. They come in as an apprentice, for example, and we have something that's called the CFETPs. That's your continuing education and training plan. And so depending on what your career field is, you'll come in as, like a 1 level. So we'll call it a 1 level, similar to like trade skills where you come in as an apprentice. And based off of more of skills and task and demonstration, of being able to perform under those skills and tasks, you will go up to the next level. And so you'll have someone like a senior level person, think of a journeyman, a master, or in the Air Force, a 5 level, a 7 level, someone who will teach and show the apprentice, if you will, how to do the task, and then they will perform the task. And so this takes typically, like with some of the Air Force careers in cyber, this is about a 2-year process. But at the end of it, they have the skills, they have the experience, they have the certifications, and they have the academic, uh, you know, along with that. Because typically, um, for example, in the Air Force, a lot of that on the job is applicable to your college degree.
Sure.
And I often wondered, like, why doesn't industry do this, you know? And so as I started working with in these hackathons and like really bridging from how we do it in the Air Force to how anyone can do it, just working together, having a challenge, um, really more focus on skills because we have a lot of training, we have the certifications, we have formal, academic uh, routes that individuals can go, but yet there's all of these cyber jobs that are left open and unfilled. And I think what's really missing is a platform or a program that can skill people into cyber.
Totally, totally agree. I mean, take that a step further in my mind. So one, yeah, like I said, absolutely, I totally agree with you. We mentioned it before, right? There's jobs out there. These jobs, entry level, are asking for experience, which okay, right? I mean, certainly you want folks that kind of know what they're doing a little bit. They can hopefully spell security at least. Um, but right, until you get in, until you get that chance, you and I were talking before this. We were prepping. Someone took a chance on you once upon a time. Someone took a chance on me once upon a time, and neither one of us really had security experience. It would be great if there was a program, an organization, a platform, whatever, where folks could get in and start getting that upskilling. But I would love to see not only the basics, right, the fundamentals, which finally date myself a little bit. Like there were not college or any university level programs for cyber back when I was going. You either took MIS or you took computer science. Those were your options if you wanted to get into tech. That was it. Um, so I would love to see kind of your basic, your fundamentals, but then I would love to see to equate it back to a university program and emphasis, right? What's your major going to be? Oh, I want GRC. I want um vulnerability management. I want data security, right? To bring it back to the guardians of the data. I would love to see that. And man, oh man, could that be a super valuable way for folks to get experience?
Yeah, exactly. And so, I started thinking about it and came up with this idea, and I'm actually getting ready to launch it in the next month. But I thought, hey, what's needed is a skills platform. So think of this as the cyber guild for cyber professionals, where you can upskill, and reskill. So not only do we have what I call classic Web 2.0 enterprise jobs still not being filled, but now we have Web3, decentralized technologies, AI. And so, of course, once you're a skill, you have to keep reskilling, you have to upskill. So the concept, just like a guild, is anyone can come in, some kind of a aptitude uh, test, if you will, or something where they can come in and say, hey, here's where I'm currently at in my career, and here's where I want to go. And be able to have some challenges. And I can speak to what I'm thinking there in a bit here. But basically, just being able to have mentors. I always tell people find a mentor, be a mentor, So imagine if some of the people that are you're mentoring, they're just starting out their career, and you give them some tasks. You show them how to do it, and then you let them demonstrate that they understand how to do it. This skilling platform would, let them demonstrate. You could certify them. You could sign off that, hey, I vouch that this individual actually knows what's put on paper. I think that would be super powerful.
Very similar to the CISSP process, right? Like to get up there and say, "Hey, I've got 5 years," somebody that's already a CISSP has to say, "Yep," right? I either know this person, review, whatever. I mean, they're signing their name on the dotted line to say, "Yes." Smart, right? Have somebody that has the skills already, teach them and certify them essentially.
And you said something earlier about when you first started, there really wasn't a formal program, Same thing, we're seeing the same thing repeat with AI, for example. But yet the fundamental skills, knowledge that we have as cybersecurity professionals easily segues into the emerging technologies. So I think that what I'd really love to see is that there's some focus that we treat cyber professional roles like we do in the trade skills. And I I don't know if you're aware, but like Davos is happening right now, the World Economic Forum, and we've got all of these technology leaders and world leaders. So I listened to a couple of the talks I was interested in, and you've got the BlackRock CEO, and you've got the CEO of Palantir, and then also Jensen Huang with NVIDIA, and they're all talking about this shortage of people. So yes, there's all these, we hear all the time that AI is going to take these roles. Guess what? New roles are coming. And really, it's about just getting skilled up to take on those jobs. And they all spoke of the trade skills that we need to treat it differently.
And this has been going on for years in my opinion. I remember when, the acronym is SOAR, right? Security Orchestration Automation Response. I remember when those kind of first hit the market. I don't remember the year. We'll say I know it was longer, but we'll say 5 years ago for argument's sake. So they hit, and I remember talking to some of my own employees. They're like, "Well, Ward, what am I gonna do?" And I said, "Well, you're not gonna do the basic monotonous stuff over and over again, like." And they had to kinda consume that. I was like, "Okay." I'm like, "But here's the thing, you get to upskill," to use your phrase, you get to upskill, and you get to do smart human things, right? Not the copy and paste, the 100 monkeys behind 100 typewriters sorts of things. Like, you don't need to do that, you're a human. Do the smart human things. Let's allow our technology. So back then, SOAR, kind of starting it out. Now, certainly, the AIs, the LLMs, the co-pilots of the world that are out there that are really kind of commoditizing some of those basic things at this point. If you know how to prompt engineer, not treat it like Google, but prompt engineer, you can, really stretch your skills X fold, essentially.
Oh, absolutely. And so yeah, that's the idea. And I'm wearing a shirt. It's from an Air Force unit. This is the 835th Cyber Operations Squadron, and we're the guardians of the grid. And so when we would come in and train, we would train on cyber ranges that we built, and we would basically do what you would think red team and blue teaming exercises. And so I thought, wouldn't that be great to build a platform where the people that are participants, we build the platform, and then we do red team and blue team exercises on the platform, learn from each other. And while we're doing all of these, we're getting real world experience in skill demonstration. And senior people could certify, sign off that this individual actually has demonstrated the proficiency of whatever the skill set is that we're training on. I think that would be powerful because now that person has something that they can showcase on their, it becomes part of a living, resume, a living CV, and they can actually show a demonstration of work, even if they don't have a full-time job right now.
I like this a lot. I mean, usually these episodes, right? They go, here's what my problem is. You've actually kind of thrown out the solution to. I think we're going. And you mentioned it a few times, but really the problem for data security is talent, essentially, and upskilling and education. And the barrier to entry perhaps being a little too high for the fact that people don't have a way to upskill without getting that opportunity. So it sounds like you're launching something soon on this. You said a couple weeks?
Yeah, I'll be launching something in February, and a couple of other things that lend themselves to, the measurements, right? So many people are maybe familiar with NIST. They came out with the NICE framework, and so the NIST NICE framework is exactly that. It's breaking down the cybersecurity career field into the different roles, basically saying, okay, here's what the knowledge is, the skills, and the experience. All of those come together into a role. And what this platform would do would be able to, pick your role. Here's the rubric. Here's the training plan. Let's go ahead and have you show your proficiency, and have someone like us, independent from the employer, independent from a piece of paper, basically certify that that person knows their stuff. And, there's platforms out there already like Hack the Box, or, some of these CTF platforms. The reason this is different is because you have to sometimes show people. And this is what was so powerful about how we could take anyone from no knowledge, bring them into, I mentioned how the Air Force does it, bring them in as a 3 level, an apprentice. People like you and me, masters or the journeyman, we show them. We actually show them how to do this. They have a dialogue, and then they get to perform. And I think that that is just really kind of a difference from the certification routes that we have, the academic routes, as well as just training programs or attending conferences, like struggling with something that should make sense, but it doesn't. And until you actually get hand on keyboard, go through that yourself, because there's a lot of things that aren't black and white as you're getting into, different operating systems. Well,
Oh,
and
yes.
you just have to experience it to figure it out, right? But having someone that's been there before, someone that is your mentor, I think that's making it a little bit gamified. You could have a lot of fun with these challenges, and social, building that network as well.
Well, and what you're getting at, so actually, for taking a step back, first off, Hack the Box and the other ones out there, fantastic, right? I think we can both agree, fantastic platforms. I would say that the however, from my perspective, is there are plenty of cyber roles that what you're doing there, I don't want to say it's not applicable, but it's not really gearing you up for that role, right? You're not necessarily going to learn um, how to quantify business risk from doing a hack the box. You're not necessarily going to learn privacy implications and regulatory items from a hack the box. Whereas what you're describing, this platform community, whatever, right? Whatever it is, you could do some of those things. So it could be technical, it could be more educational, all those things. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So some of the way that we do training is we have a training plan, and then the participants come into the box, so to speak. So um, we give the injects, and you're right, we can make those very real world like. I even thought of things like how many of us in the real world, where it's Friday, nothing, we don't think anything's going on, and then all of a sudden a 0 day drops, right?
Always, or a Saturday, right? A Saturday when you think you're off and you can take it easy. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So imagine if you're in this program and you get the text message scenario, the inject, hey, something has happened, and then you have to, respond.
I think that's cruel and unusual, but I like where you're going on that. That right there is real world experience.
That's real world experience, and you give them a little scenario, and it's something that they can throughout whatever the period is that they can sign up for, show the demonstration. Hey, I responded. I saw the notification. I did these coordination actions, whatever the scenario is, but there's lots of scenarios like that. And I think it really could be like a game. And that's what I'm planning on doing is kind of gamifying the experience.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
How have you thought about how, organizations could get involved? Is there a way they can I mean, I think the easy way, if I'm just thinking through it, like, I think the easy way would be like, hey, they could sponsor, right? Money's a good thing to help get things stood up, but how about, like, helping to craft, various scenarios or maybe even being able to see the results and, what's the right word? Not cherry pick, but recruit from the program.
Absolutely. I think there's so many avenues. So, yes, sponsorship would be great, but I think in our own companies I work for, and maybe this is true in your own experience. So you have your team, you have an organization. Let's say it's a cybersecurity organization, information security, and things change in the environment, business direction, new technology, and but yet you have individuals who have been in their job roles, and now they're being asked. You gave the SOAR example, right? So in this for example, hey, maybe there's a few people that lead the SOAR effort, but what about everybody else? Are they going to be left behind? Are they going to be reskilled? This is where I think a lot of the reskilling comes in, is because now you need to have a way to reskill those people to the decisions that your company has made. And there isn't a generic certification all the time for that, right? And even if there was, the cost, the time, to send these individuals through some kind of program, it's not really hitting what you need them to do in the next couple months, the next year. So I think that this could really be tailored for any organization.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, what you're describing could get huge quick, right? Like, if I think we started the conversation around entry level, right? I don't know the exact numbers these days. I mean, I see varying experts saying what they are, but there's thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of entry level positions out there. But there's also, you mentioned upskilling and reskilling. Like that's a whole nother population of, you know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Like this could get big. This could get huge.
So, I'm going to speak to the upskill because how many of us have, and you and I probably, right? Others that are listening, but how many of us have made that crossover into management, right? Totally different. You're maybe not always hands on keyboard. Now, what are you doing? Executive reporting to the board.
The other headache is what I describe that as, right? You got technical leadership and people leadership. There's headaches on both sides. Which headache do you want?
Yeah. But can you imagine, upskilling into from the sock floor to the C suite? You might have to upskill into management, which is different skills that you need. You need different communication skills, being able to translate technology to business leaders, being able to show the ROI on the investment. So I think even that is another area for senior levels. So it's not just addressing the people that are trying to get a new job or their first job, but also how do you progress your career over time?
Wow. Very big, and it all goes back to and, just to bring it back, I think you said this all really goes back to NIST, how you're mapping it, and their NICE framework, which there's a lot of organizations using that to create their job families and job roles, so I think that's super smart to really kinda hone in on that.
Well, and there's really nothing for the executive level in the NIST, not so much. And so I think that's an area where guess what we do? CISO forums, and you build your network. But I think this would still be just like that, but also sharing more at the skills level. How many times have you talked to your peers and said, how do you report to the board, right? How do you show the ROI of security? We've had all these conversations. How do you show the value of security as an example and influence change, influence investment into your budget?
Right. I mean, or even just commiserating, right? Like, what are the battle scars you have? Here are my battle scars. How do we not get any more battle scars, right? Having those types of
Yeah.
conversations. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's also an international framework, and it's the skills for the information age, and I love it. Check it out. But they've actually mapped the NIST nice cyber in the skills for information age. The skills for the information age is more of a global international framework similar to NIST, but it also covers areas like data science and AI and just all of these emerging skill sets. Concept is the same. The focus should be on skills. Can I demonstrate that what I've learned and my certifications that I can apply those? And so this is the difference between, conferences and training certifications. It's collaborating with others and learning from each other and being able to demonstrate your skills in a platform that allows you to do that in a safe and fun way.
I like where this conversation's taken us because, I asked what's the biggest data security challenge, but what you've brought up is industry challenge that we have. And it is systemic. It is across all roles. I would say, there are groups definitely maybe a little harder hit by this than others. The SOC, yeah, you mentioned before, SOC analyst, 2 years experience. I think that immediately comes to mind because there's a lot of folks that say, well, how do I break in? Everyone tells them, go get a SOC role, right? Sit in the SOC for a year or two. Um, but even those, even if you're an L1 SOC analyst, you still get folks that they want you to have either IT experience or security experience or both in order to bring you in.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that new jobs are coming. So again, being able to have an agile platform to bring those technologies in. When I was doing these hackathons, that I think that was my biggest surprise and what's really kind of put all of these pieces together from my own career experience. Also, the way we do it in the military and just participating in these hackathons is that there's some kind of challenge, some sponsor, some challenge. People form ideas together. They iterate on those ideas in a very fast way and they show something for it. It's not perfect, but I think there's a lot to be learned about doing it that way. And eventually it does turn into something. No matter what, you always learn from it, from the experience. And failure, I mean, sometimes you have a concept and once you start building it, it's like it doesn't quite work that way, right? That's its own lesson.
If you don't have difficulties along your way, I would say you're probably not working or accelerating fast enough, right? You could probably work harder, accelerate faster if you're not hitting a little bit of a hiccup. I'm not saying fail, but you should hit a little bit of resistance for sure. Which, speaking of, so I know you're doing a lot of advisory work around AI and blockchain and all that today. Obviously, that's new, right? Newer, not new for all those listeners. I know it's been around for a while, but it's really gaining steam. So you walked us through your journey of your background, but how did you stumble into, hey, wow, I'm able to do this, around, being an AI and blockchain advisor?
Yeah, and I think it was just from being curious. And the first hackathon that I mentioned was the corporate internal challenge, and then I started competing just with opportunities in Dev Post. But it really just I was able to bridge something that I had already known and and had experience into doing that on a blockchain. And so I think that was really the what clicked for me is just being curious and taking something that you already know, which a lot of things in cybersecurity are fundamental. And so even though you haven't maybe, like I had never worked on a blockchain before, databases and other technologies, but I said, hey, what if the same thing that I'm doing with this layer of technology, this piece of technology, I can do it over here. So I really do see that this bridging of Web 2 to Web 3, centralized systems to decentralized systems, the um, the requirements, the I guess the problems, the opportunities remain the same, but now it's up to you to just use the new technology. And we've seen this a lot with all different types of technology trends and bubbles. We've seen where
I love that you said that because I've had so many conversations, even this week, where I hear somebody say something and I was like, and just kind of shrug my shoulders. Like, it all goes back to the fundamentals. Like, why are we having that particular problem? Because we ignored, that particular fundamental, or we determined, like, in an organization, you can't do all the things at the same time.
someone introduced me to in my career, I've had so many wonderful mentors and people that I've worked with, and but yeah, I got introduced to the 12 factors app, first principles. And I think we have a lot of first principles in cyber that lend themselves to uh, whatever technology we're working on. We can apply those first principles thinking. And so this is just something that I hope to do in the platform.
Unfortunately, there were technical difficulties during the recording of my episode with Marlene DeHart. My internet just could not keep up with the extreme cold we were having in the Midwest. That said, please follow Marlene. There's a lot of exciting things that she's working on, and sounds like we're going to hear some things the next couple weeks. Please follow her on LinkedIn. Big thank you to our audience. Really hope you enjoyed the episode, Marlene, and learned something. Please follow. This has been another exciting episode of Guardians of the Data. See you next time. That's a wrap on another episode of Guardians of the Data. Thanks for tuning in. For show notes and more, visit guardiansofthedata.show. Guardians of the Data is made possible by support from Centra. To see how we help organizations discover and classify all of their data accurately and automatically while quickly achieving petabyte scale data protection without the fuss, please visit Centra.io. Catch you next time.